right, this is Squire coming to you guys again this week. Episode 65. I'm super excited about this episode this week. We're going to look at my vanity card. We're finally going to reveal it. We're going to see who actually won that. We're going to go over some new Hex news as they keep releasing just little trickles of information for us. We're going to talk to TheMotivation. He's here with me for his first time. You know, we're popping the cherries, his first version experience on the show. And then we're finally going to do some sort of a deck doctor. We may use my vanity card. We may not. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. So, yeah, it's going to be a great show. Thanks for showing up, Zor. Make sure to stay till the end of the show because you were the first person in the channel, and I'm starting to reward the first person in the channel that shows up. So I'll get you something good at the end of the show. So let's start talking to TheMotivation over here. He hasn't said very much yet. I haven't given him a word in edgewise. So here you are on the show for the first time. Talk to me about what kind of content you do for Hex, or you.
Yeah, so I'm a fairly new streamer. I started about 3 months ago or so. And basically, I've never really done competitive TCGs before. I've played Magic and stuff like that, but never really anything too seriously. And then, yeah, now I'm getting into Hex, and mainly right now I'm doing drafts. I am a Grand King backer.
Okay.
So I get the free draft a week for life, so I'll definitely be doing that, but I've definitely been putting a lot of time into drafts, trying to build my collection and all that fun stuff. And yeah.
So did you play during the alpha then, or did you?
I did actually. I was actually one of the first people that was streaming that was able to even get into the game. That's how new it was.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I mean, I remember there was points. This was like as soon as Hex was playable, I got into it and started streaming. I figured, what better way to start streaming than with a newer game that's gonna build followers quicker that way.
Sure.
So yeah, I think there was one night where nobody could log in and I was the only one logged in, so everybody was watching me, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was back when there was like nothing in it really, just
you had all the cards, and and you had to find people to fight, and the AI was like pretty pretty silly.
Yeah, but so I played that, and then I didn't want to get burnt out on Hex. I enjoyed it and everything, but doing the same thing all the time, I didn't want to get burnt out. So I actually took a really long hiatus and actually just came back when the arena was released, the beta for the arena anyway. So
okay, so quite a little bit of a lag. You kind of missed a lot of the community tournaments in there, but you're back. We're glad to have you back as a community or as a content provider for Hex. So talk to me about some more about your like TCG background. You said you played Magic. Like, was there any other card games, or talk to me about that?
yeah, I picked up Magic. Oh boy, way back. I still think I have cards from Ice Age.
Oh wow.
So I mean,
That's when someone first introduced it to me, and I picked up some Portal cards, and then someone, one of the church people came over and they said that it was an evil game. So then I focused on Star Wars and. Bad choice. Star Wars cards worth nothing now. Magic cards worth a little bit of money, just a bit.
A little bit. But yeah, I picked it up in elementary school. I remember somebody brought a Shibian Dragon to school.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah. So that's what kind of started getting me into it. And then I played it all through elementary school. And then I stopped going into high school. I didn't want to be too nerdy, but then I was like, you know what? I don't care. I love Magic, and then I got a bunch of friends, and we all started playing in the cafeteria every.
Notice he didn't get friends until he started playing Magic again.
Exactly.
Notice.
Exactly. But yeah, and then after high school, didn't really have the people to play with it anymore. Everybody kind of went away to different areas and stuff, and so I started looking for more card games to play, and I started playing Magic Online. I played that for a while, and that was okay and everything, but. I wanted something more, and I kept looking and yeah, I couldn't really find anything until I found Hex.
That's back when the client was pretty atrocious, and I still think that Magic players should kind of thank all the digital card games that are out there because they've kind of forced Wizards to update their client a little bit.
Yeah.
So talk to me about like the sequence of events. How'd you find Hex? How did you get you got on the Kickstarter, so you're one of the lucky ones, right?
Oh yeah. It seems like everybody wishes they were in on it now.
Right.
But yeah, came along with the searching for something more. Honestly, I don't even remember the exact way I found it, but I remember finding the Kickstarter and kind of taking a look at it, and I heard the whole thing about the dungeons and the raids,
Right.
and that is what
Started getting exciting.
that is what caught me. I was like, that is just amazing. Like, it's going to be a full Magic the Gathering type card game, and then it's
Right.
going to have these awesome PvE environments where you can play with other people and cooperative type stuff. And yeah, that just hooked me. And
Did you
I was
play
like,
any MMOs then, or?
I've never been huge into MMOs. I didn't like paying the monthly fee.
Yeah, yeah, it's a big one for some people.
Yeah. The only MMO I actually paid a monthly fee for was Final Fantasy 11 and then 14. And I only did that because I love Dragoons, hence my Twitch icon. And I got a little cane sitting down by my current track thing on my stream. So
Right.
that is
Dragoon's the same as the Lancer, right? Pretty much, those
Yeah,
are the
yeah.
same. Yeah, so that's actually kind of funny because I actually named my game company Lancer Games after like the Lancer class in Tactics, Final Fantasy
Oh,
Tactics.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
But
all
yeah,
right.
that was how I got found. I don't even really remember how I exactly found it, but I did, and haven't regretted a single dollar that I backed with.
Yeah. So in fact, if you want to meet the motivation, he's trying to make it down to Gen Con, so he'll be there as well as I will definitely be there. Possibly he'll be there. So yeah, definitely look for him out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're working on it. It's looking pretty good. We're just trying to nail all the details down. We're actually trying to get Sithos and Nero Generous to room with us.
Oh, I'd love to see Nero down there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I think
But
I
yeah.
met him there once. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to some of the Hex news. And I'm not going to keep you guys waiting too long. You know, the Hex news is pretty not too much this week, and then we'll get to the actual reveal of the vanity cards. So we'll just hold on, we'll just hold your horses for a minute. So we've got the Hex update, Elven Evolution. So apparently the elves have gotten some blood in their veins, I guess, or some blood shards in their veins or something, because now we've got a whole bunch of new Elven blood cards. That's pretty much most of what this update is about. It's just going over some of the cards, and then it also talks about the VIP tournament, which is this weekend, right? That is this weekend, so make sure not to miss that if you're still playing VIPs. My VIPs ran out a long time ago. They talk about Gen Con 2015. They're definitely going to be there, so come out and see them type of thing. They're probably going to do what they did in previous years, although I'm excited to hopefully maybe see the first dungeon or raid there, but I'm holding my breath, but I probably shouldn't hold it too long. They've got a job opening for engineers, computer software. You need to have at least a bachelor's in computer science to apply for this as an engineer over at Hex. And then they also talk about a game called Sigils, which is being put out by the company that is doing a lot of their server administration. Gameforge has put this out. So if you have an iPad, it's an RPG MOBA you can play on your iPad. That's pretty much most of the update. So before we go to the cards, anything you want to talk about with the update there, Motivation?
No, it's cool to see elves branching out. I was actually a huge elves player in Magic, so it's cool to see more elves coming in here. And there's some pretty cool stuff here. I like Swift Strike, so that Blademaster is looking pretty cool.
Yeah. So let's start out with the Ashwood Soloist. It's a 1 cost, 1 ruby threshold. When this attacks, gain 1 ruby. And basically, I looked at this and I was like, this is ridiculous. But then I realized you don't get permanent resources when you attack with them. You just get a temporary one for the turn. And I was like, okay, that's reasonable. That's reasonable for a common card. I would give this. I mean, there's a chance that there may be a deck out there that can use it. I think this is very playable. Possibly a 3.5 or maybe even a 4 constructed playable. It's definitely playable in your draft decks. I would definitely pick this up, maybe 4th or 5th pick, because it is a 1/1. I know that there were some players that hate 1/1s, but this one actually does ramp you, and that was something that I felt was very, very much that was missing for people who are trying to play Wild. It was very difficult to have access to ramp, so it's nice to have another ramp card, especially in Ruby, because I love pairing up the Ruby and the Wild ramp type decks. So what do you think, the Motivation?
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, the way I'm looking at it right now, you swing in with these guys, and even if you have like two out there, you're starting to open up resources for tricks, right? So you got your ruby auras, your crushing blows. So it kind of opens you up to have those resources to play a trick.
Right. Absolutely. Moving on, we got the Ashwood Maestro. How do you read that? Maestro? Maestro. Or we'll go with Maestro.
Yeah,
It's a 2-cost, 1 ruby threshold. It's a 3/1, so it's already a pretty good body for the cost. At the start of each champion's turn, they gain 2 temporary resources, basically, a 2/0. This one I don't like as much as the last one because I hate giving stuff to my opponent. We've seen this before with other cards in other games where it is that like you put this into play and everybody gets stuff and all of a sudden someone starts going crazy because you didn't judge things very well and they're skipping ahead turns. So basically by playing this guy, your opponent's going to have the first chance to get that extra 2 resources on their turn, which puts them way too far ahead in my opinion, in the constructed sense. In the limited sense, maybe a little bit better. If you have to, you can pick this guy up or you can rare draft him again for that ramp deck that's going to be maybe wild and ruby. Seems okay maybe in draft, maybe a 2.5 in draft, but definitely I don't like this guy. I give him maybe a 2 for 2 out of 5 for constructed. So what do you think?
Yeah, I'm 100% behind you there. I hate giving my opponent an advantage, just like I hate the psychotic anarchist giving them cards. Yeah, I mean, this would definitely be a rare draft for me. I don't think I'd want to play it.
Moving on to the Ashwood Blademaster. It's a 3-cost, 1 ruby threshold, 2/1. Has Swift Strike, and then if you pay 3, elves you get control get +1 power, +1 front end there. And you can just keep doing that. All the elves you control get +1 front end, and it looks permanent. I believe that's going to be permanent, and that is ridiculous. So out of the 3, this is the most ridiculous card we've seen. It's only an uncommon. It's an auto pick uncommon, especially if you're already in Ruby. I mean, if this is in the first 3 picks, you're probably going to pick it. You'll probably pick this over rare cards because it's such a role player. It does so much all by itself. It's already got that Swift Strike, so it can protect itself. You can do it in response to combat, during combat. So if your opponent is not the brightest bulb, out of the batch, maybe you can get a free kill out of it where you're killing your opponent's blocker. It just seems amazing to me.
Yeah, I definitely agree again there. This is the guy I got excited about with elves. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Swift Strike, and even paired with those, these soloists, them swinging in, again, it opens you up for ruby auras, and you just go ahead and pump them up to where you need them to Swift Strike in, and I like it.
Yeah, the only big drawback with this guy is his 3 cost may put maybe beyond your curve, but I mean especially in a limited sense, he's an auto pick.
Yeah.
One of the most exciting things also on this release here, this Hex release, was a new champion. His name is, I'm going to say Benvolio. Benvolio. Kind of reminds me of if I was watching that old MTV show with the 2 guys with lewd names. They used to say Cornholio, Yeah, kind of reminds me of that. But anyways, for a basic action speed, so far there's no champion that actually has something at quick action speed. It's always basic action speed. 2 ruby threshold you need, and then 4 charges. You can draw a card, but if the drawn card is a non-resource card, it gets at the end of your turn, discard this. I think this guy's ridiculous. So far, the least we can pay for drawing a card is 4, and that's on a blood champion that you have to pay 2 life. And it saw some play for a little while, but more people wanted the removal from Zerid, so putting this in Ruby just seems ridiculous because you'll be able to do things like draw Ragefire, play Ragefire, it gets shuffled into your deck, and then there's no way it can get discarded. So you have more chances to draw like that escalation card. Also, something to point out is it says the card gets discarded, like it gets discard this at the end of the turn. So in my mind, what that means is the card has to be discarded from my hand. So if it was a troop and I put it into play, the card can't be discarded. So you're not going to lose the troop at the end of the turn. It just forces you to play the card. I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like it. Again, when I first read it, I didn't really realize I didn't process the whole at the end of your turn discard this part of it. And yeah, like you said, if it's on a troop, you just throw it into play and you're fine. You don't have to worry about it. Or something like Ragefire, it's you just play it. And again, it kind of synergizes with the other ramp in Ruby that's being added with the elves. Is you can happen to draw a trick, and then you got all the resources to play it too, because you're swinging in with those soloists, or it gives you lots of options.
We already reviewed these 2 VIP cards. Still pretty good cards. I'm looking forward to seeing both of these as well, but we won't rehash those. We're going to actually move on to some of the other Set 3 release cards before we get to the awesome Vanity reveal. So this one is Time's Offering. It's a 2-cost, 1 Sapphire Threshold socketable miner on a quick action, and at first you might say to yourself, I'm not sure what this does. We may have released this before, but so do excuse me if we had, because I thought I saw something like this before. But socketable miner, void target troop you control. It gets at the end of your turn, if this is in your void, put it in play this turn. This troop gets all socketed powers of this. So this is basically a way of throwing socketed powers on any troop you control. But it's going to cost you another slot in your deck. So in the sense of, constructed playable, maybe there's a specific sense where something is going to make it go nuts, but I don't think I would ever play more than 2 of these in a constructed deck. In a limited deck, yeah, sure. I'd draft this to do some tricks with it, and it's quick action speed, so what you can do is actually save your troop with it, which is cool. So if your opponent tries to kill it, you can place it out of play, and then at the end of the turn it comes back into play. Seems like a great trick for saving those troops that you really want to keep in play. Plus, if it does come into play, it's going to get anything else that buffs it, or any of its come into play ability. So I do really like that. So maybe I'm being a little bit harsh. Maybe you can play with more than just 2 of these in a constructed deck, but only time will tell.
Yeah, see, I agree completely. There's only one problem here, is in the quotes there, at the end of your turn, if this is in your void, put it into play. So the problem I'm coming up with is, if you try and save your troop on your opponent's turn, I don't know if it's going to stay in the void, or how
I would expect it to, but yeah, you're right. There's a chance it may actually get voided on your, I would think that it would wait until the end of your turn, and then it would come into play. But
I would hope so, yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, there may need to be some testing there. We'll see what's happening. See if there may be some things. There's a big thread about it, and so there may be, that question has probably already been asked and answered in here. I just didn't have the time to go and read through it. So if somebody in the channel lets me know, then that would be great on that one.
Yeah, other than that, I like it though.
I think that we already released this guy, but we're going to go ahead and talk about him again. Ghost Feather, 3-cost, 1 diamond threshold. It's a Coyote Warlock. It's a 2/2, so he's got 2 front end, 2 defense. Prophecy, when this comes into play, the next troop in your deck gets, when this enters play, you may transform another target troop you control into a Spirit Eagle. A Spirit Eagle is a 3/3 troop with flight that costs 4 and 2 diamond threshold. When this attacks, exhaust target opposing troop without flight. So it seems pretty good. Let's see. When it enters play, you may transform another troop. I mean, the problem is the prerequisite. I have to have another troop in play for it to turn that troop into a Spirit Eagle. So maybe okay in draft, but I don't think I would play it constructed. So I give it like a 2 again for constructed, and for draft I give it more like a 3 or a 4, just because that Eagle is going to have evasion. A 3/2 is pretty relevant, and you get to exhaust opposing troops. So if they have something that can block it in a limited, for they actually have something flying or something that can block it, you can just exhaust it and just keep getting that damage through with evasion.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Probably a draft card. My problem is I don't really know a ton of diamond. I guess it depends on what you splash in, right?
Right.
Kind of troops you'd want to turn into the Eagle. Like, it's a pretty cool card. I definitely give it that, but
anything that's a 1/1 maybe. But
yeah.
I mean,
except like shield trainers and stuff, you obviously want to keep those around.
yeah.
Maybe a Royal Herald, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it depends on what you're running. But yeah.
I have the job opening open. I'll just kind of flash that on the screen. If you're looking to try to apply to this, you can just kind of like pause the video here if you're watching this on YouTube and then kind of look it over. But you're probably going to want to go to the Hex main website to actually look at that anyways. And we are finally there, I think. Yes, we are finally there. We are going to do the reveal. And we're going to start off by looking at the pictures that the reveal is based on. So unfortunately, the motivation is probably not being able to see these because I'm guessing he took the video down, but he is watching the chat, and he's in the chat.
No, I got it up and ready.
Oh, you got it up. All right, so you can see these, or at least 30 seconds from now you'll see these.
Yeah.
So this is the basically the pizza photo of what we based the card on. And there's a couple of these, and I already just showed the card for a second there. But I will. So those are the photos. I went the wrong direction. And then here is the actual card. So it's a 2-cost, 2 diamond threshold. It says all in the family. Here's there's me, there's my son Elliot, there's Joshua, and there's my wife Constance. And it says while you control 5 or more troops with different costs, troops you control have +1/+1 and invincible. And when I first read that, I was like, this is ridiculous. What are they thinking? This is going to be the most ridiculous broken card ever. And then I read the second sentence, and I was like, at the end of your turn, if you control 2 or more troops with the same cost, sacrifice this. And I was like, okay, they dialed it back in. Okay, this is a lot less playable now. So if I were to judge my own card, my own vanity card as far as its constructed playability, maybe there's a place for it. Maybe I could give it a 3, but I would actually give it more like a 2.5. This is a 2-of card. It's a buff for your deck, and I'm trying to think of a situation, how often you could get this situation to happen where it is that you have 5 or more troops with different costs. The other issue is this could put you in a situation where you need to play a 6th troop for some reason, and you can't because it matches the cost of the other troops you already have in play. So it would seem that this is going to fit best in some sort of a control shell where it's diamond and sapphire, because we have Buccaneer, and then we have I always forget what the other one is, but we have the instant speed quick action where it can return cards to your hand, and then in time ripple we've got time ripple as well. So in that case, I could actually take my own cards and then change their costs in order to fit this very, very specific situation. In draft, I draft this all day. I'd pick 1 or pick 2 this all day, and just to see if it would happen. I think that this is going to be a great card where you'll have a lot of good stories in draft, and you'll be like, I was on the ropes. I had 5 troops. There was nothing happening, and then I played this card, and then I basically just took the game over. So yeah, there you go. So any thoughts on your side, motivation?
Well, first of all, I really like the art. The art is really cool.
I love it.
Yeah, it looks. I really like it.
They were actually worried because we had so many people we wanted to have in here when they were like, well, the images are only this big by this big, and we're not sure how we can get everyone in there exactly, but we'll see what we can do type of thing.
Yeah, they definitely made it work. I really like how they did it, and they basically did it just like the photo, the kind of family dinner thing.
Right.
But yeah, I'm with you. It's definitely more of a draft card. I do like your ideas about kind of adjusting your own troops' costs with Buccaneers and time ripples and even time waves. I do like that idea, but it's definitely going to be tricky to work in a constructed, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and tweet this out because it hasn't been tweeted out yet. So give me a second while I do that, and so that way so someone doesn't snipe me. I got to do this because that's the exciting thing to do, right? When you get stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. And then the winner of the card is, I believe it's one of the people. It's uploading the video. It's uploading it. The winner of the card is Chalkmaw from my Twitter feed. He also posted the same thing on the Twitch. He said his guess was All in the Family. He said it was going to be Coyote themed. 4 cost basic action, 2 diamonds, 2 wild, Allegiance troops get +1/+1 for each troop in play that shares a trait. So that's what he said for the card.
Yeah, sounds like he was pretty close.
He was pretty close. He was pretty close. I'm not sure if it actually tweeted it. I don't think it loaded the card. I'm going to try one more time here. I'm doing a lot of things on the internet, so the internet's like, stop doing things on me right now.
Actually, Sir Grum made a good point too. Her Majesty Queen Grace can help you change the cost of human cards. So.
Yeah, I mean, I really, like, when I first read the first line of this, I really wanted to go mono diamond with it, but I like, when I read the stipulation on the bottom, I was like, yeah, that's not going to work very often, but we're going to try. We'll see what we can do. At the end of the episode, when we, yeah, I guess we're pretty much there at the deck doctor, so we could try to build a deck around All in the Family, or we could go with a different deck if someone had something in mind that they wanted to try out. So I'll just give it a couple of seconds, or I guess 30 seconds, to see if anybody has any ideas on what they would like to see tonight. If they don't want to see this, that, you know, if someone has something that they really want to see me build, that's fine too. It doesn't have to be all about me. It's all about you guys, right? There you go. It's been retweeted. Thanks, Irish Batusi. Whew. I don't know if there's anything else I could really say about this card. I also like the rarity value of it. So far, I would say out of all of the vanity cards that are in the Hex community, probably Hex Colin is probably one of the most playable ones as far as constructed. The other one, though, what is it? Not the Buccaneer, but she's basically Ruby, and then if you have Diamond and Sapphire in play,
Royal Cutblood.
Royal Cutblood, she's super playable in draft. She is like probably. That's a vanity card. That's a guy's girlfriend.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I think that I hope they got married. You know, I think that it was like a proposal thing or something.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, I'm excited. I'm super excited to see it. I actually had to force my wife. I was like, "Come and look at this," and she was like, "What? I don't even want to look at it." And she's like, "It's just a card game. It's just a card game, Charles." And I was like, "All right, I guess it's just a card game. It's not just a card game, guys." All right. So I'm not hearing very much about what we should do, so we're going to try to put this in a deck. So we know that we've got 2 of All in the Family in the deck. We'll just have to kind of keep that in mind as we build this, because it's not going to be on the database because I just spoiled it. Yes. And so I think we're going to go with the Sapphire Diamond type of humans deck. So we'll look at some things that we can try to put in on the deck. We've got about 30 minutes to build this. And yeah, let's get to it. So let's see here. We want to turn off the PvE cards, not turn them on. We got Diamond, Sapphire. We'll go ahead and throw Shardless in there, although we probably won't play very many Shardless cards. Although we are in Sapphire, so we pretty much have to put in what's his name, the big cat on that dwarf. Reese pretty much just goes in the deck even though he's not a human. So that's the other thing that's cool about this card, is it has humans on it, but we don't have to just use humans. We can use dwarves in this type of deck, right?
Yeah.
So we're putting Reese in here because we know he's ridiculous. So maybe we'll put like 2. We could even put up to 3. Typically I like to play like 3 Reese in the deck. And this is probably not going to be a cheap deck either, because I mean we're making a typical constructed deck. So we're in Diamond, we're playing Angel of Dawn. I mean, it's just gonna have to happen that way. Royal Den Mother wouldn't be a bad choice for this type of a deck. What else? We probably will put in the typical what's it called, the guy that draws cards when they kills our stuff.
Phoenix Guard Messenger.
No, the Mirror Knight.
Oh, right.
Mirror Knight pretty much isn't. These are like all like auto includes at this point, you know. Like we all know that these cards are good. It's just we got to get the right ratios for them. Optimally, I almost think that it would be best to have all these numbers be kind of like flat line across the top and not actually do a curve on this deck, which is going to be really hard for me to do, honestly. Because if you've watched my show before, you know that I build a curve into every deck, no matter if it wants it or not. Like, it's going to get that a resource curve, which will be nice. We could throw in His Majesty King Gabriel as just a one of. Any thoughts? You can just shout them out.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Now, they're making a point in chat here that Reese can and will make the same cost cards. Now, what was the
that is a good point.
Rules again?
It's at the end of the turn, so even if it does do that, like we still get one swing in. So I mean, maybe we'll go down to one Reese just because of that. But Reese could also give us a situation where because typically what you're going to do is you're not going to just throw All in the Family on the table. You're going to wait till you have the 5 troops on the table, which puts you in a bad position against blood decks because a lot of times they're making you discard cards. So obviously some things are situational, but typically with All in the Family, I'm not just going to throw it on the table because there'll be situations where I'm like, I just drew 2 Royal Den Mothers. I have nothing else. Actually, I need to look at that Mama Bear to see if that's the same because that would hurt us too. Is Mama Bear 4? No, Mama Bear's 3, so now we can't use that either. I think King Gabriel might actually also be that. Might also be 6 and 6. So then at that point we also can't use that. So this might make things a little bit more difficult than what I originally thought.
Well, I would definitely look into
Oh yeah, Boldheart's the same cost. We can't use him either.
Look into Queen Grace because then you can kind of adjust them to where you need them. So that could be a possibility as well.
Oh no, I just got rid of my decks. Diamond Vanity. That's the deck. All right. Queen. Oh, no, I'm in the wrong thing. I need to be on all cards. Queen. I do kind of like the Queen's Guard, but we aren't really in Ruby.
Yeah.
So let's see. Do we want like maybe 2 Queen's Grace? I don't like running too many uniques because I don't like having them just stick in my hand.
Yeah, I would go with 2. 2 should be fine.
Princess gets invincible this turn. Target king, prince, or princess. So that kind of makes me want to play kings, princes, and princesses now. Pretty princesses. King. So that kind of makes me want to play King Gabriel, but we already talked about the reason why we can't.
Yeah. But with Queen Grace, you can reduce his cost, so he's not the same as Boldheart.
Yeah, it would take a turn. It's possible. I would probably go ahead and play a Princess Victoria because that could be either 0 or 3, so that works really well with this deck. I still don't know why this is the alternate art and not this.
Yeah.
For the card. She's got really big armor. I wonder, let's look at all the stuff for Citadel. I mean, this is kind of more like just a fun card, but Castle Wall is... the Burning Oil doesn't count because it's not a troop, so we don't have to worry about that. Castle Wall is a 4 cost. Citadel of Adamant is 7. Sniper Tower is a 3 cost. So we could actually play Citadel in this deck. Like, we'll just throw it in as a 1-of for now because we're still thinking about stuff, right?
Yeah. I would consider some verdicts or counters to deal with extinctions until you get your troops invulnerable. I think that might be something as well.
Yep, and we already talked about Buccaneer. We know that's like kind of an auto include here.
Yeah.
Just because it's going to adjust our deck. We'll put the alternate image in, which I'm hoping people are grinding that gold to get because that's a pretty sweet alternate image. That's the first one I picked up. Yeah, still working on getting them. I got Burns this week, and the next one I'm shooting for is getting all my murders, I believe, is the next one I'm trying to get.
Nice.
So we got that, and then we also talked about the one I always forget, the 2 costs. Time Ripple. Yep. This is why you're here. This is why you're here. And I helped. Time Ripple. Well, he already has Time's Offering up here too. But that doesn't really work with what we're trying to do.
No.
So we've got 25 cards in the deck right now. I feel like we need a solid 1-drop troop. We may end up going into Ruby just so we can play that one troop.
Grum just brought up a good point. Citadel creates multiples of the walls.
Oh, you're right. So good choice. Yes, excellent point. Excellent point. We can get rid of Citadel now. Excellent point. So yeah, we can get rid of that. That doesn't really help us.
Could throw some shield trainers in there. We don't have any 1 costs yet, do we?
And we could throw those in over Queen's Guard just because we don't really want to go into Ruby. I still really like this card, and I still think that there's a chance that it'll have its heyday eventually, but we'll see. We could throw Ancestors Chosen, but then that just dilutes our deck. Still an excellent card for this deck. If we threw enough stuff in the deck, we could actually play Servant in this deck. If we threw enough different things in the deck.
Yeah, see, with Ancestors Chosen, then you run into that problem. It's putting things into your deck that you can't play multiples of. Or the
right,
goal
exactly.
isn't to play multiple.
It's not, we don't want them all the same cost. We want, we need a cost 1 troops, we need cost 2 troops, cost 3, 4, 5. You get the point.
Yeah.
So we've got our 5, we've got the 3 kind of like half, well, we got Buccaneers, so that kind of handles that. We've got a 2 cost troop, we've got Mirror Knights, we've got the Shield Trainers, Verdicts. What else could we use in here? We need a 4 cost troop, so we're really looking for troops that are 4 cost at this point.
4 cost.
Something good. Like Aspirant, like as a 1 of, maybe. So this would actually allow us to tutor the things that we want. Like, I guess that would be interesting to have in here. Azurefate Sorceress wouldn't be bad. Maybe as like a 2 of, it's going to buff things. Eldritch Dreamer is always a classic. That's probably an easy choice here.
Noble Citizenry is not too bad either.
Yeah. It kind of gets overshadowed and constructed, though. That's the biggest issue. Like, it is good.
Yeah.
But we don't need things with different titles. We need things with different costs. So we need to find the best cost in slot type of thing. So if we needed different titles, then yeah, I would totally be all up on the Noble Citizenry or Shell Safe Sure Shot. I would put like 1 of those and 1 of those. Run some sort of like toolboxy deck. But this one doesn't really penalize me for running multiples. Splinter of Azathoth is another one you could maybe try in here, but probably the best ones we already know are like Azurefate Sorceress, Eldritch Dreamer. Eldritch Dreamer is probably the choice here, and then we can get rid of Aspirant. That's a pretty easy choice.
Yeah.
Alright, so what else can we do? So we've got the 2 cost. So we have to add 2 to this number. We have 34 cards, but we really have 36. I mean, we're kind of at a place where we can pretty much like just put 24 shards in and try it type of thing. Our curve looks atrocious, though. So we'll take a look at a couple of things here. We got the Reese the Crustcrawler, and he'll cost 1 or 2, so he kind of fits in that 2-point range. So we really want to play 2 resources with this deck. We might actually be able to get away with 23 shards in here. Possibly.
Yeah.
Just because we have Angel and we have Reese. Reese is a turn 2 play, and Angel is that turn 1 play or turn 2 play, possibly if we have a Diamond Shard and we top deck it type of thing. So that's also possible. I'm trying to think of what else we could do with these cards or any type of bouncing. Oh, you know what we could do that might fix a lot of sticky situations to get us to where we need to be is we could put in the Sapphire guy that costs 4 and he bounces only our own troops, so just 1 of those guys.
Oh, Devoted Emissary?
Devoted Emissary. Just a 1 of, and he's mostly in their utility. It's like, oh, I have a 1, a 2, a 3, and then I have 2 3s, and I have the 4 in my hand. I'll bounce the 3. Now I can play All in the Family type of thing.
Yeah.
Menacing Grolk's also another great one, but I think All in the Family does enough for us, as long as we get to resolve it. Argus is good also. Yeah, Argus would be pretty good in here. I agree. because he's going to reduce his cost every turn, and then when you put him into play, I believe he stops doing that.
Yes.
So that way you can just choose, oh, now I can play Argus, and now I can play all in the family, and now everything's indestructible. So now I've got indestructible Argus, and that would definitely dominate a board state.
Yeah.
I mean, you could even try out like Tectonic Mega Hulk, because this is the problem is you're probably never going to see it because you don't have the robots to reduce its tunneling. That's the only issue. That's the biggest issue I'm seeing there. What did we say that guy was called? The Devoted Emissary. I need to have you on more often.
See, that's what I've gotten from playing so much, is I kind of remember all the cards off the top of my head now.
It's funny because I press that so much, and then I sit on the show, and like I remember like half the cards, and then I'm like, you guys need to memorize the cards because I don't. So do what I say, not what I do. You could also play Countermagic in here. Verdict is probably the optimal choice because we're in 2 shards, but I would probably put Countermagic on the reserves for this type of a deck. Let's see. I'd probably just reduce my 4-point range and try to buff up my 3-point range is what I would do to just kind of smooth out the curve a bit. And so probably we could just main deck some Countermagic for that.
Could do that, yeah.
Just like 2 Countermagic, I think, and then throw 2 on the reserves type of thing.
What about Repels? Repels might be good to get in there somehow too.
Yeah, I think Repel is pretty easy. We can put that in there as maybe a 2 of, and then hold 2 more on the reserves. It's still one of the best removal cards in the format, even after this. Oh, that's the other one I need to get. I need to get the alternate image Repel with all that gold. Too many things I need to spend gold on.
Oh, I hear you.
I really hope that they keep that around for quite a little while longer. So we'll probably take the Azurefate Sorceress down to 1. Again, she's a buff for the other cards, so if we do play her, like, I'm not sure what we would socket her with right now. Let's see. What can we do with her? I feel like she goes better in the wild Sapphire decks, honestly, because you're playing bigger things. She buffs more things. We can give her flying, and in Diamond,
in mine I have her with I have her as wild Sapphire, as you said, and she's got flying and card draw.
Right. I like her in wild. I just like her to have the one where you can't be targeted. So now
Spell
she's
shield,
spell shield plus the flying. I think is pretty optimal, and we saw that when let's see, who was it that did that first that I saw in a tournament personally was what's his name? It was Havoc, I believe. Hex Havoc did that.
Yeah, he plays wild Sapphire quite a bit.
So the only other thing we could do is we could give it life drain, and there's a chance that it might buff some things. I mean, maybe Azurefate Sorceress is just not a great fit for this deck, because let's see, we're buffing Eldritch Dreamer, Devoted Emissary, and Angel of Dawn, Reese, possible Reese creations, and then Argus. So maybe it is okay. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. Is there anything else that would fit better instead of her, though?
In the 4-drop slot, I mean, we're looking at maybe getting rid of like Eldritch Dreamers over her, or something. I mean, our curve looks a little bit better. I mean, the other thing I'm looking at too is like Princess Victoria, for instance, kind of does the life drain. So if we socket her with life drain, I mean, I guess that's 2 things where we could get life drain out of this. We also haven't even chosen a champion for this deck, which is, I guess, kind of funny. I'm not even sure which champion I would choose. I'd probably go with the de facto standard, which is like Dimond, or I would go like Wyatt, or you know what we would probably do is go with Bertram, because he'll give us dudes, which could complete our what we're trying to do. So that seems good. I mean, out of those 3,
Feather Drifting's also a good choice, I think, just in terms of getting that evasion. But if you're gonna have it depends on if you're gonna keep that Azurefate Sorceress in or not.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is like with Bertram, I'm looking at he'll make it easier for our All in the Family to actually happen, because he makes dudes which are, let's see, they worker bots which are 1/1s. Yeah, so they're 1 cost. And if we look at our range here, our 1-drop portion is kind of low. We just have these shield trainers here, which are kind of like filler. I kind of wish there was something better than this, but it's still pretty good. The nice thing, I guess, about shield trainer is it'll buff a lot of things out of the range of heat wave. So like our Mirror Knight no longer dies to heat wave.
Yeah.
Princess Victoria won't die to heat wave. Buccaneer won't die to heat wave. Azurefate Sorceress won't die to heat wave. You know, so I mean that's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So I think maybe we'll just take the Eldritch Dreamer down to 2, and we can throw 2 on the reserves. And this is just one of those things where you have to play it and feel it out to try to figure out what's good, what's not in that type of deck. Unfortunately, set 3 hasn't been released yet, so we can't necessarily do all that.
Yeah.
With the way the curve is looking on the deck, I'm really feeling like we need to have 24 shards. What do you think? 23 or 24 shards on this?
Again, it kind of leads both ways, because your high end is kind of cheap with the Reese being only 2, because you're most likely going to tunnel them, and then the Angels potentially being free. So it could definitely go either way.
I mean, you could definitely try it, because we've also got Queen Grace to debuff our guys, or make them cheaper rather, and get them,
exactly.
you know. Plus, you know what we're not counting though? All in the Family is 2 cards. We're actually at 39 cards. We actually do have to get rid of 2 cards no matter what anyways, because we're putting in 2 All in the Families. Again, because it's a buffish kind of card, like we really kind of need to, we can only run 2. If you played All in the Family by itself, it's going to do nothing for your board state. And it's not a crazy enough buff that's going to just sit on the table that you would just throw it out there by itself, you know? So I'm looking. Phew, the 2-point range is pretty stocked here.
It is.
Maybe less Cerulean Mirror Knights. Even though it's a good card, Mirror Knight is really only shines, in my opinion, like when you have lots of little dudes to play. It's going to be nice because it'll refill like all those extra troops. Let's see, what else do we have in the 2-point range? We got Mirror Knight, Queen Grace. Yeah, that's the only thing, is that'll give us less 2-point troop cards, so maybe buff that back up. What else could we get rid of? Our 4-point range has...
Maybe not as many ripples.
Yeah, maybe 1 less time ripple, but I feel like we really, really need these, so I don't think we can go... We definitely can't go lower than 3 on those.
What about dropping the verdicts to 3? I mean, you already have 2 Countermagics and 4 verdicts. That's quite a bit.
Yeah, that might be better. I think, yeah, verdict to 3 may be better here than time ripple. And that puts us at 35, plus 2 would be 37, so there is the body of the deck. Now we just need to figure out exactly what the deck analysis is. So typically, I had him put this in. I actually know the guy that built this this thing. It's on one of my episodes. I forget which one. Bogdan. I had him put this in where it shows me the number of icons in the deck, and it actually shows them to me visually. So if you count up the icons, it kind of gives us a ratio. So about 2/3 is what the ratio is. So 2 being like, you know, 2 out of 3 times we're going to need Sapphire, whereas the other times we're going to need Diamond. Although we can add 4 to that because we know All in the Family will be in this deck. So we have to keep that in mind. So it's still kind of like that range where we're going to have more Sapphire than Diamond.
Yeah.
Let's look at our double thresholds real quick. What do we have? Double threshold. We got the Eldritch Dreamer, the 2 Countermagics, and that's about it. So we should be able to keep it pretty close, and we won't have to play too many, what is it called? Shards of Fate.
Couldn't you do the Prosperity ones? Is that what it's called? I forget what one that shard
Yeah, we're definitely playing those. We play those because we want to get charges. Where is the shard? We also are going to get all these cool new shards like this Feral Root Acorn. So we'll probably get one for Diamond, and if we get that and it has humans on it, I mean, we're golden. You know, for a deck like this. If that exists in set 3, that is probably going to be the shard to play
Mm-hmm.
Again, we don't have the full set list just yet, so just want to caveat that for people that might be reading this or watching this episode in the future. From the future. Maybe I'll... the first... That's kind of like that episode of, what is it called? The Big Bang Theory, where, like, they're sitting down, he's like, if either one of us develops time travel, we need to come back to this time right now, like 5 seconds from now or something like that. And then they both look up and, oh, well, that's disappointing. Yeah, it's good times. There's our Sapphire. It's like I'm hearing my Twitter go off. I have it on vibrate on my phone, so it's pretty cool. I guess people are getting a little bit excited about that card, the vanity card we released today.
Yeah, vanity cards are always cool. I'm definitely jealous. That's something I wanted.
And you can still get them
Can you?
because not by paying for them, because the Kickstarter's over, but once in a while, Cryptozoic does things that give out vanity cards when you win things or do things or this and that for the community. So I wouldn't be surprised in the future if, like they do it again and they do a contest where somebody in the community can get a vanity card. I think the last one I saw was a Twitter contest where they were trying to come up with game text for, like, flavor text for one of the cards. And that was the last contest that I saw.
Okay. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I actually almost went Dragon Lord, but since I wasn't going to be able to go to Gen Con, I kind of felt that I lost a lot of that value. But it was just something I definitely wanted. Maybe someday.
Someday. Or maybe just start working for him and then you get a vanity card. I mean, Drew Walker has like 3, so just saying.
Oh, is that who it's named after?
Yeah, you have Drew's Walker, Drew's Unrelenting Fists. I actually had an interview with him last year's Gen Con. It was a lot of fun. Let's see. Shards of Fate. I'm looking for Shards of Fate. There it is. So I'm just going to play 1 Shards of Fate. It shouldn't be too bad. Our champion power is mostly just to get blockers up anyways for the early game, or so that we can get a 1/1 in play to complete our cool effect. Just 1 Shards of Fate. And actually I forgot again that we actually have 2 cards that are missing here. So probably some sort of a split like 10, 8, and then the Shards of Fate and the Shards of Purpose should fill in the other cards for our deck. You might even go up 1 more Shards of Fate for fixing, but most of the things in the deck are single shard as far as like threshold on them. Yeah. So I think you'll be okay with this if you were to try this after the set releases. Of course, all this is subject to change because when set 3 releases, there may be much better cards to play in this sort of deck. But I think this could be good to try to get that card to work. It still remains to be seen if it's actually constructed playable or not. It may even just be a one of constructed playable, or maybe a reserves type of card constructed playable. But I'm still excited to see what people do with it. If you have a great deck that uses it, I would love to see it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm ready to do the recap. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So talking about tonight's episode 65, we called this episode "The Motivation to Look Like a Squire." Motivation came on the show, talked about his stuff. Go ahead and plug your channel, Motivation.
Yeah, so I am at twitch.tv/TheMotivation. I don't have any real set schedule yet. I try and just get on when I can, but yeah, definitely check me out. It's got all my information in there, so if you want to check it out, feel free. I will post that in the chat as well. Yeah.
Yep. Make sure that you guys are getting over there and hooking him up with some follows, giving him some love. And we also talked about some of the card reveals tonight, and then we went over my vanity card, and then we did this great deck doctor, and that was pretty much the show tonight. So I really appreciate everyone for coming out. Until next time, this is Aaron Squire signing off, saying God bless you and your families. Try not to rage too much out there.